Hi, this is Maheen. I am the founder of Maheen the Globe, which is a Seattle-based media company, and that's Tessa Hoyos, my editorial intern. And we're going to continue our conversations, open and honest conversations around mental health, as May is Mental Health Awareness Month in the US. And we have a really fun panel. And before I go to them, let me talk about the theme, which is Be Kind to Your Mind. And I personally think mind, body, and soul are intertwined. And so if we are being kind to our mind, we have to be kind to our body too for everything to work beautifully. So from our panel, we have Dee Sprinkling in Seattle. She's a dance instructor at Seattle Athletic Club. And we have Sheema Sultan, who is the owner of a Karachi gym called Core. She's also a dance fitness instructor. And so Dee, I would like to start with you. Everyone's kind of stuck at home at this time, and some people are not even motivated to work out. And so and everyone has limited spaces. You know, some people are in a studio or an urban house or very limited spaces to work out. So I wanted to ask you if you have any exercises, demos that people can do in a limited time and a limited space. And how do we incorporate household chores and think of it as exercise? Like I have a 2-year-old daughter, I'm running around her and I'm holding her. So I think of that as a workout and holding her as weights. So I wanted to know your perspective.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what is it that you enjoy. You know, for me, I love music. So anytime I can, I put on my favorite song, and that just makes doing any of my chores that much better. While I'm vacuuming, the music's on, I can be dancing around. While you're doing the dishes, you put a little spin, but you put it in the dishwasher. You know, all those little pieces can add up to your dancing experience. I also think too, so once you figure out what you like, you have to figure out what inspires you. Maybe it's a TED Talk. Maybe it's something like what we're doing here. Rewatch it daily, get inspired, because that's what's going to motivate you, especially in the beginning when it's hard to get off the couch or it's hard to get out of your pajamas. The other thing I would say too is using that time with your children. So impromptu dance parties or, doing dance videos with them is, they love that. And that gives you a chance to be creative and dance with them.
Yeah.
As far as space goes, to tell you the truth, you don't need a lot of space to dance. Dancing allows you to be expressive, and you can express that in any space that you have. Dancing allows us to let loose. We've had a long day, we've been stressed out, we've been, frustrated with whatever's going on, and you can just turn on your favorite song and just let loose. And it's so powerful. And such a mood boost, right? So I'm going to show you that you can take 2 to 3 moves in a little space and have a lot of fun. Let me just demonstrate.
That's awesome. So excited about this.
All right. So let's say that you put on your favorite song and you want to work your legs. You can just take a basic squat. You can add some arms. You can pump it up here. Super simple. I haven't even moved, but you can tell that I'm getting in that squat position. I'm adding some bicep curls. Let's say that you want to take it up a little bit. Let's say that you want to add some knee lifts, right? You can take the arms across. You can travel with this. If you have space, turning around in circles. You can add your abs in there with some hip circles, right? You can add your arms in there by doing anything. And if you notice, I haven't even really moved.
Yeah.
All of that was in one space, and I'm already out of breath. So you can do this. And I think that, it's hard to get going, but you just gotta find those little moments. Maybe it's 2 minutes. Don't make it anything more than that. Keep it simple.
I love it. And so, there's this biggest myth that people have that, you need a lot of space to actually move and burn calories. So it's really cool to know that within one single space, you can actually do all of those things. So thank you so much for that. That was super helpful. So Sheema, I'll come to you now. So you wanted to share your personal mental health journey and then how it led to your physical fitness and that led to Core. So please talk a little about that.
Hi, Maheen. Thanks for having me. I'm really passionate about exercise and fitness. And like you said, it's really been like a personal fitness journey for me. How it started was, was very simple. When I was a teenager, I put on a lot of weight. I gained like 20 kilos in like, no, not 20 kilos, 20 pounds in 2 months. Yeah. And I had no idea why. And, I was diagnosed with PCO, which is a very common, problem issue with women. But when you're young, everything seems really dramatic. Everyone's and aesthetics are so important to you, right? So I became really low because of that, and my doctor suggested that I should start working out because it will help me manage my symptoms. That's how I got into working out. I joined a yoga class back in the days, but I was in this phase in my life, when I was transiting from, school to college. So I was inconsistent, obviously. My schedule was really busy. But whenever I could, I kept going back to exercise, and I tried different forms of exercise from dance to yoga to aerobics, everything, right? And I really enjoyed it. And I did not lose the weight because now we know it's a lot more than just exercising. And obviously, I had issues going on in my life with my hormones and everything. But I loved the whole feeling. I loved working out. I kept going back, not for my aesthetics, but because of that feeling, right? Then, fast forward a few years, I was in this phase in my life where, I was consistently working out because I enjoyed it, and I was still overweight. And I went through this really rough patch where, I was really angry and I was like really depressed and, I was angry with my parents. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And in that part of my life, exercise was consistent. And I think what really helped me manage myself and manage my days better was that I was working out and I had a de-stressor, right? So I'm not going to turn around and say that if you have issues going on in life and if you start working out, those issues are going to go away completely, right? There's a lot more to it, right? But it will really help you manage yourself better. And I'm a very holistic person. I'm a very natural person. So I don't believe in medication. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I don't believe in that. That's not my personal belief. So, but for me to get through that phase in my life without any, some sort of medication was amazing. And then, with this whole journey, I discovered my love for exercise and I decided to change professions and I became a fitness trainer and a personal trainer. And and I loved it. And core was always part of my vision because I was inspired by by New York American gyms like Equinox and Soul Cycle. So I had this vision to open a space like that in Pakistan. I was inspired to do that. And so I created a space like that where people can, are motivated, they're inspired, and they feel like working out. And, I really believe that anyone can fall in love with exercise. There are two things to it. One being you need to find a trainer who motivates you. And by a good trainer, I just don't mean by the books. It's a whole package. It's a whole personality, an empathetic person, a person who motivates you, a person who you have a good rapport with. Find a trainer like that. And secondly, a good space, which is inspiring, which you like working out and, which you like going back to. So with Core, I try to create a combination of that. And that's the story behind Core.
Nice. Jaweria just joined in. Hi, Jaweria. How are you?
Hi.
So
Hi.
a technical thing, you're sideways. So if you could just flip your phone so we can see a front view. Perfect. Awesome. So Dr. Jaweria Faheem is a psychiatrist of National Health Services, which is a government organization, and she's joining us from Essex County in UK. And I'm going to just go on to you with a question. So Jaweria, I wanted to ask you step-by-step approach to a panic attack. And I can give a couple of my personal examples and you can kind of tell me what you think of that. So one incident of a panic attack that happened with me was when I went with my friends to Whistler, this really nice mountain for skiing. And I slept on one of the slopes and my husband was waiting for me at the bottom. And when I slept, I felt like this is the way I die. I had complete fear, profuse sweating, had trouble breathing, and I just couldn't get up. I just couldn't move. I was frozen. So that was one incident. Second was that when my daughter Maha was about like 4 or 5 months old, and I was obviously sleep deprived and fatigued as a new mom always is. And I would consistently have these like constrictions in my chest cavity, and it would just constrict to the point that I couldn't breathe. And the pain was excruciating. And it would always happen with a neck or shoulder movement. Like if I would just go like this, and it would be so horrible. And it would last for like a minute or two that I'd have to like call my husband or some help because I just couldn't move for that minute and a half. And especially like when I would like cradle my daughter and put her to the crib. So it's like halfway I'm there and the pain happens. Chest constriction and really hard, like, pain. And then I would call my husband, and like for a minute or two, I just couldn't do anything. And I went to my GP, and she said, "Oh, you're just tired, mom. That's all it is." And she kind of like said that. But I've been reading a lot about panic attacks, and I feel like it was maybe a panic attack or an anxiety attack. I'm not sure. What would you like to say about that?
Thank you so much for inviting me on the panel, and I'm really sorry about the technical glitches. But what you are describing sounds like a panic attack. Of course, I haven't seen you and I haven't assessed you at that time. So a panic attack is a fear, right? It's your body's exaggerated response to stress, anxiety, and fear, of course. And it is unprovoked and unpredictable. I'm just going to talk a bit about the acute management first, what to do when you're having one, and then we'll come on to other things. So when you are having a panic attack, stay where you are. Do not try to leave that place. Number one. Number two, try to concentrate on your breathing. Take deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Thirdly, some people say that stamping their feet works. It normalizes the breathing. Thirdly, try to focus on an image or one object if you can. Think about something positive in your mind. And then, it lasts between 9 to 30 minutes, for some people an hour, but it does get better. So the exaggerated response does come down. And once you're over that panic attack, my advice would be to see how you feel. If you need rest, hydrate your body, and also keep a diary as to why you're getting it, what is the pattern. So that's something very important. Other than that, if you are getting a lot of panic attacks very frequently and you don't know, you can't identify what the trigger is, then you need specialist help, which would be a combination of talking, treatment, and medication.
All right. Thank you so much for your response. That was super helpful. So Dee, I'm going to come to you, and you're like in Belltown, which is the heart of Seattle. I'm just wondering how the lockdown is looking like for you.
The city is so quiet now. At this point in our time here, last month of this month, we would have cruise ships coming in, just offloading tons of tourists, and the city would be just booming with, Amazon employees, Google, everybody. And it is so quiet. A lot of the restaurants have been closed up and they're boarded up even. But on the flip side, a lot of the boarded up windows have been painted with murals. And so it adds so much character to the city. We've had neighbors pop out their window and sing opera. We've had neighbors pop out and play their instruments. We had a clarinet playing the other night. And every night at 8:00 on the dot, we all go out our window or on our balcony and we make noise and in honor of the healthcare workers. It's happened every single night from the beginning. And just experiencing this and being a part of this it just makes you feel like you're part of something and you're not alone. So even though the city is so quiet, having these little things, I think has really made a big difference.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, because I'd heard a lot about New York and Italy and Spain doing these things. It's good to hear that Seattle's also, doing these positive things at a time when everyone's like stuck inside, so to speak. So Sheema, I'd like to ask you what Pakistan's approach is to fitness and how you've kind of observed it while your time at CORE and as a fitness instructor. You were mentioning something that it's like a seasonal thing, usually pre-weddings. Most of the weddings in Pakistan happen in December, so people do like a quick workout right before. So you can talk a little more about that, because I found it fascinating. I think our panelists will find it really interesting too.
Yeah, sure. So I think fitness is a very new thing here, right? The industry is evolving, and I think the past 4-5 years, it's really come up. 10 years ago, when I started off as a personal trainer, it was literally non-existent. We didn't even have a decent gym in the city. But now people are getting into it. There's a lot of interest, because of Instagram and social media. Everyone wants a certain kind of body. And it's a lot about aesthetics, to be honest, right? I don't know how it is about, I know in America, it's a lot about fitness and well-being as well. Right. But in Pakistan, I think it's still a lot about aesthetics. It's not about a lifestyle. So I think that kind of frustrates me, because I personally really, really enjoy fitness, and I think it's an amazing thing you can incorporate in your life. And it's so much for me. Aesthetics is here, everything else is above, right? And what I find different in Pakistan is I think people are very inconsistent. Yes, it's a very seasonal thing. Like December is a very festive season in Pakistan. You know, we have a lot of weddings going on. We have a lot of people visiting. I think I met you in December as well.
Yes.
And people visiting. It's really nice. And from September to November, the gym gets really busy because people are working out and people want to get in shape for December. And then mid-December, people drop out, 1.5 months of hibernation, they disappear. And then pre-summers from end Feb to March, the gym gets busy again. So this is something which I feel like, that's seasonal. It's not part of your life, because if it's a priority, no matter how busy you are, you will take out the time for fitness, right? Yeah. If it's an essential part of your life, you will take out the time. So I think that's frustrating. And I think this old school thinking is still there that, with women especially, I don't want to lift weights. I'll get big. I want this certain skinny kind of body. And for me, strong is everything. And I think people don't get the right results because they don't listen to trainers. So yeah, there's a mental block over here for sure. And I hope that people can, change that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right. So Jaweria, I wanted to ask you some hard-hitting questions. Things are going to get intense now. Okay. So,
Okay.
so, like I've heard about some horror stories of cases where some of my coworkers or friends and people that I know that had a mental health challenges, and they were misdiagnosed, given pills when not needed. They, went through really a low part in their moods where it just didn't motivate them to go to their jobs, or if they were students, didn't motivate them to work. And it affected their love life. It affected every part of them. They gained weight, lost hair, and all of that. And so it almost seems like on the back end that some therapists or psychotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever you want to call them, have these deals going on with pharmaceutical companies where they would get profit if they were to sell a certain amount of like medicines and stuff. So they make their patients pop pills without really doing a thorough check on them before making that recommendation. And I've heard a lot of that happens in Karachi. At least I would say 6-7 years ago or 10 years ago when I was there. I don't know how things have changed now. But I really want to address this because I know so many people who were affected by this and are still affected by it.
That's a very good question, Maheen. And it's sad to see that, unethical practice does exist in different parts of the world. I can talk from, I work in the UK and I work in the government sector, and we do not have private practice very rife, and we do not entertain pharmaceutical companies that much. Everything is monitored. The patient has the right to complain. And before you give anybody a diagnosis, you need to assess them properly. Assessment is important, investigating, and then deciding a course of action. Whatever's happening back in Karachi, I know there are people who are doing good clinical practice as well, but some people are just minting money, which is unethical. There needs to be regulating bodies to monitor them, supervise them, because we have the same thing here. We don't take this lightly when we prescribe a medication because it affects your body. You do have side effects. So yes, I think that would be one way of doing it.
Right.
And also do your research. I mean, everything's available on Google. Go to, of course, renowned sources like NHS UK or Patient Info in UK. That's what we have, where you can read up about it and not go blindly. And I think things are also changing in Pakistan as well, from as compared to 7-8 years ago, because people are more aware now. And I hope that this will bring about change in the practice.
All right, thanks. That's a really good response. So Tessa, you had a question for Dee regarding motivation to work out and all of that. Why don't you go ahead and ask Dee that question?
Yeah, and I guess this could also be for Sheema as well. So I'm in college and I have a lot of work. I have a lot of homework. I don't really have that much money. So how can I motivate myself to work out on my own without being able to afford a trainer, or just generally having the motivation to get up and do something?
So Dee, you can go first. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start. So I think, kind of what I said earlier, you just have to start small. So, you probably always are doing the dishes or cooking something. Maybe that's your moment. While it's boiling, you do a few squats. You can find little niches in your day to include this. Maybe it's nothing where it's structured. Maybe you're trying to just, okay, I'm going to go out for a walk. And my one block, I'm just going to do one block. But once you get out there, you might feel like doing 2 or 3. Maybe you take your lecture, maybe it's an online lecture, and you have your headphones and you use that as your walking time. And I think that we think about exercise being, okay, I need to carve out 30 minutes or 1 hour, or I need to do this specific structured exercise. And it doesn't have to be that. As long as you're getting your heart rate up, as long as you are, moving your muscles, and that's really what needs to happen. So I don't think that we have to think about it inside this box. I think we can kind of think outside of that. And, even when you were saying, Maheen, about when I pick up my daughter, that is exercise, these 20-something pound kids, exactly. So
right.
Use those little moments.
Sheema?
I agree with a lot of things Dee has said. What I would like to add on is, you guys are really lucky. You have access to so much information, which we didn't, right? You have YouTube, you have social media, the amazing home short workout videos, which you can find online. And it's really, at this time of your life, it's really not about a lot of structure. Whatever you can do, whenever you find the time, just even if it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, do something. If you want to go running once a week, that's fine. You don't need a lot of space in your house. You just can look up a, short video on YouTube, 15, 20 minutes, arm workout, an ab workout, or, like a cardio workout, the boxing workouts, so I think it's very accessible for you guys now. So it's just trying to build that habit and just trying to take out that time, by, not really overstressing yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting you say that. So with me, it's like my problem is different. So I'm used to structured classes that I've been going for like 7 years. So when I think of workout, I'm like, okay, 1 hour, one chunk of it. But you just sometimes don't have the motivation to do that. I was talking to Dee about this yesterday. It's really hard because my ideal workout is just 1 hour, but I sometimes just don't have the motivation to go all the way. So it's nice to think of it of being a little more open-minded, and it's okay if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever you can get at a time like this. So Jaweria, another hard-hitting question for you. So this one kind of addresses gaslighting behavior, projection of emotions, manipulative tools that sometimes therapists or psychotherapists or psychiatrists perhaps use. So their patients are lured in and they think they have a problem and they keep coming to them. And I've heard a lot of such issues that people got out of like a toxic therapist and they went to another one. They're like, oh my God, I was sucked in so bad. I just didn't even know. So would you like to address that?
So as I said to you earlier, that, practices are different and way of working is different from country to country. So we do have, as I said, private psychotherapists, psychiatrists, and counselors working here. So we don't see a lot of gaslighting in the UK. I can speak off of the UK because that's where I live and I work and practice. But I think the thing to be aware of is to see that how is that therapy making you feel is very crucial. Are you getting any better? And it's also doing your research before choosing a therapist or a specialist or whoever. I know that things in America are different. It's all insurance-based and pharmaceutical heavy. And in Pakistan as well, you have a choice of picking and choosing. So I think that's a great thing. And right in the beginning of, in 3 or 4 sessions, you will identify that you're getting worse rather than getting better. So that should be a warning sign for you. Sometimes it can be that it's difficult to, remove yourself from the ongoing therapy. But I think people just have to first of all make informed decisions, and also the therapists and the respective colleagues who are doing this is not justified. Every treatment has to be rationalized and it has to be for the betterment of the patient.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the self-awareness, I guess, is important. And also kind of, so in Seattle, it's interesting. They're a very organic approach to therapy, and they don't prescribe medicines, some of them. And when they do, it's like after a thorough evaluation of like many months. So it's not like right away. And even then it's like mild mood stabilizers that don't really have like an actual effect on you. So that's a really interesting way of thinking, that do your research. All right, so Dee, I want to talk to you about being a mom, right? And working on your fitness, being a mom, doing homeschooling right now, and you're doing these virtual Zoom classes as well. So how is all of that working out for you?
So, we've been fortunate to be homeschooling from the beginning. So we've been homeschooling for about 5 years. So because of that, I feel like this transition was really smooth. Now, incorporating my work at home has been a little interesting. So we have our ups and we have our downs. Like there's definitely days where everything goes smooth and we get through it all. And then there's days where I just throw in the towel and we watch a movie, because not only is she exhausted from just seeing my face all day, but I am too, and I think that I have to give myself so much grace to be able to juggle everything that I'm juggling. Because, not only are we homeschooling 100% now, but I'm also trying to send out emails and teach these classes and make sure she's got something while I'm teaching, or make sure the dinner's ready before I teach. And, timing that's probably been the hardest, is timing. Yeah. But I think that, like, in one sense, this has actually been easier because all of her education has come to us. We can just sit in our pajamas and take classes, versus me driving around the city, dropping her and whatnot. Yeah. But we miss the connection with people. That is definitely what we can't wait to get back to.
Yeah. Well, we're just in the last round of and wrapping things up. I just wanted to add, kind of end it on a really light, funny note. So Sheema, perhaps you can talk a little about any funny clients you've had in the gym, or something funny you can share from your experience.
Wow. Well, customer service is not easy. You have to be very patient. The customer is always right. So I find that really, really tough at times, because I don't know how it is. People in Pakistan can be a little temperamental and can be a little short with you. So I think I find that part really challenging. I'm also very lucky. I've had great clients who love me, who support what I do. And I guess that's about it. I mean, you have your good days, you have your bad days, right?
Yeah. Jaweria, you're also mom of 3, and you actually started your practice when your kids were tiny, and I think of you as like super mom. I'm also related to her, so she's like a really cool aunt in our family. So anything funny you want to share with the kids?
With the children, I think overall the experience, I just want to commend all of you guys. I think, Maheen, you're doing a fantastic job with this panel, and especially bringing up Mental Health Awareness Week as well. And I think all of you are super moms. But I think when I went back to work when all my kids were below 6, so I have 3 of them. So it was a struggle and a juggle, but I think my husband was very, very supportive, and this is what I really wanted to do. So no, I think it's been a great journey throughout. So nothing very funny or
that's okay.
Exciting to share.
Yeah. Dee, what about you? Anything?
Yeah, well, I think, one of the things that my daughter absolutely loves is every night before bed, she's like, tickle fight. And then we just like have this tickle fight, that it almost feels counterproductive, right? Because it's like, okay, it's time for bed. Yeah. But we spend, a good 5 minutes just tickling. And I'm just cherishing all these moments,
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's nice. So, I feel like I'm definitely more present at home. Like, even though I'm working and juggling 2 things, just like seeing her smile, crack a funny joke. Like, she goes into this mode. She'll wear like a beanie and like play the drums. Like, that's her like look when she's like doing music stuff. So it's like she's developing a really sassy personality. That's fun to see. Thank you so much for your time. I am truly honored to have you guys on. You're all brilliant. You're all doing great things. I think mental wellness is definitely an important thing to tackle, but physical fitness just comes with it. I feel both of these things are extremely important. And I think you guys are also on the front lines, saving people, mentally and physically. I mean, there's so many people who need this kind of help, but they're never open, they don't really openly talk about it. So thanks a lot for your time, all of you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.